like Joel said, my name is Bethany Woody. I just wanted to thank all of y'all for showing up tonight. It means a lot to us knowing that there's so many people out there that really care about issues and the situation that we happen to find ourselves in. I'm currently a student at CNM, where I'm studying to be a mechanical engineer. I'm also an activist with the A.N.S.W.E.R Coalition. For those of you who aren't familiar, A.N.S.W.E.R stands for A.N.S.W.E.R and End Racism. I've been involved with the coalition for about a year and a half now. Through my involvement with the A.N.S.W.E.R Coalition, we have been involved in a number of different issues and struggles, which Joel mentioned earlier. I'm here today to talk about something that affects not only my people, but almost every indigenous and colonized people of the Americas, and that issue is water rights. Since I am Navajo, I felt it would be most appropriate for me to talk about the recent water rights struggles that have been occurring on the Navajo Nation. Earlier this year, Arizona Senators John Kyle and John McCain, both Republicans, introduced the Navajo-Hopi Little Colorado River Settlement Act of 2012, also known as SB2109. What the settlement essentially entails is, in exchange for 3 new water delivery systems on the reservation, both the Navajo Nation and the Hopi tribe will waive their claims to the Little Colorado River. To understand what this means, we must first understand the difference in what constitutes a water right and what constitutes a water claim. Water rights are defined as a group of rights designed to protect the use and enjoyment of water that travels in systems via river, lakes, ponds, gathers on the surface of the earth, or collects underground, i.e. the right to access that water. While a claim is a legal action to obtain money, property, or the enforcement of a right against another party, water in this case, as part of the settlement, the Navajo and Hopi people will not be losing any rights to the water of the Colorado River. Instead, they will be waiving their rights to any further claims for that water. It is important to also note that if the settlement is approved, the waiver is permanent. So if these nations are put into a situation where they need water, say 100, 200, 500 years in the future, that option's not going to be on the table for them. Supporters of SB2109 have argued that it is in the best interest of the Native people. However, there is an overwhelming number of both Navajos and Hopis that strongly disagree. One of the biggest advocates for the settlement is none other than the president of the Navajo Nation, Ben Shelley. On April 5th, Shelley announced that Senator Kyle and Senator McCain requested a meeting on the issue behind closed doors. In an email to the Navajo Times, Shelley stated, the senators, asked for this meeting. In respect for their wishes, we are honoring their request for a private meeting. I know how important water is to our people and hope that the people will allow the leaders to interact with one another. Shelley was also adamant about the Navajo people needing to be informed on the issue, and that in his role as a leader, that he needed to make sure that the people understood what the bill means. If Shelley really cared about the people, what does he have to hide behind closed doors for? And more importantly, why would he need to hide behind a wall of Navajo Nation police officers to address a crowd of his people after that meeting with the 2 senators? The reason is because his alignments are not really with the people of the Navajo Nation. Instead, Shelley's only alignments are with the imperialist government he was in close negotiations with. He is part of the same institution that wants to exploit Native peoples for their land, for cheap access to resources, water, electricity, and more importantly, money. How is it that a person can be put into a position of leadership while facing criminal charges for unlawfully using the people's money for personal gain? Despite the charges such as conspiracy, fraud, and theft which were filed, Shelley was found not guilty and was sworn in as president of the Navajo Nation in January of 2011. Yet the working class people of the Navajo Nation can be arrested for protesting a settlement that would directly influence their families and the communities for generations to come. Shelley also denied an interview with the Times and denied that there are any official transcripts of the town hall meetings that were available to the public. He has also used underhanded tactics in hiring a PR firm behind the backs of many in his own administration to flood media outlets with advertising in support of the settlement. This is just an all too familiar occurrence with politicians whose true interests are not with working people. You can see it in tribal government all the way up to the federal government. On the other side of the struggle, there are forces that are organizing in an attempt to stop the settlement from being approved. Public outcry against the bill was an overwhelming theme in the town hall meetings throughout the nation. The meetings were held by Navajo Nation water rights commissions, where a PowerPoint presentation was given, followed by an extensive question and answer session. Not to mention there was almost always an overflow of citizens that could not get into the meetings itself and were forced to wait in the parking lots until space was available. It makes it hard for anybody to deny the concerns of the public when that kind of involvement is expressed. What is more impressive is despite the tribal government's efforts to gain popular support for the bill, the meetings seemed to do the opposite. People found themselves to be united in their feelings of mistrust of the government's motives to push the bill forward. A mistrust of the federal government and all those who support it is nothing new. Historically, the Native people of this country have time and time again witnessed firsthand the injustices that have been perpetrated against them by the federal government, be it in the dishonoring of countless treaties, genocide of millions, stealing of land, and now hoarding of resources. One woman expressed her discontent for Senator Kyle acting as a champion for the Navajo people. She said that the Navajo Nation has its own lawyers, engineers, and hydrologists, which can contribute to a third and different option to the proposed settlement. It is very important. This is a very important and a very valid statement. Everyday, normal Navajo people should be the ones that have the final say-so, not just on this issue, but every issue that affects the Navajo Nation. We should not have to pander to some politician in hopes that they will do what is right and find that in the goodness of their own hearts. If we want something to be done, we must take a stand and fight for it. A number of other activists have stated that it is not about being anti-settlement, yet it is as simple as doing what is going to be in the best interest of the Navajo people. They believe that there is a better alternative to the current settlement and that the Navajo people must take it upon themselves to decide what that is. When the question of sovereignty and the right to self-determination comes into play, it is not just important that people be aware and informed of the situation, it is absolutely essential. The people carry the power and responsibility, not politicians. The politicians are put into those positions to serve the people and do what is in their best interest. Another example of why President Shelley is not concerned with the people of the Navajo Nation. The youth on the reservation has also played an important role in opposing SB2109. Serrana Riggs of Next Indigenous Generation gave a statement to the Navajo Times that said, quote, "Our vision for the future includes a just transition away from the coal-based economy, a diverse and sustainable economy based on traditional values and true self-sufficiency for the Navajo people. We will sign these things away if we agree to the settlement." Riggs also stated that the tribal government must start listening to the youth of the Navajo Nation, considering that the median age on the Navajo Nation is 24 years old. Riggs' comment holds a lot of weight. The young people of the Navajo Nation are going to be the ones that have to deal with the consequences of the decisions made by politicians for years to come. The bottom line here is if the people of the Navajo Nation and the Hopi tribe do not want to agree to the Navajo-Hopi Little Colorado Settlement Act of 2012, that is their right. Regardless of what politicians and government officials think and say, the responsibility for ensuring the future of the Navajo Nation, the Navajo people, and the Navajo culture falls directly in the hands of the people themselves. Deciding to stand up for what is right and let our voices be heard is going to be the determining factor in the struggle for our people. We come from a long, extensive, and proud line of resistance against the ills that the federal government has repeatedly tried to stack against us. It started as soon as the first Europeans landed on this continent over 500 years ago. It has since continued almost unchecked up until the time they sent our great-grandparents, grandparents, and parents to boarding schools in an all-out attempt to wipe our culture off the face of the planet. It continues today in the form of exploiting our lands and labor for the benefit of the ruling class. The time has come that we need to join together, not just Native communities, but all oppressed people around the world, and say enough is enough. We refuse to accept this treatment and that we are capable of governing ourselves and keeping our people's best interests at the heart of decision making. Because after all, who is better at keeping the interest of the community alive than the people that live and work in those communities every day? In closing, again, I just want to thank y'all for coming out, and I hope y'all will take something away from this forum. I hope you planted a seed in someone out there that will flourish into the desire to fight for the people and the community. Thank you.